Hi, I'm Dan Schmitt. I do a motorcycle racing TV show, Team Chicago Challenge. My email is teamdan45@gmail.com, and I love to hear from my audience. My website is teamchicago.tv, and yes, it does need to be upgraded. So I recently received some films from my good friend, the late great Bill Wildt, who also produced the TV show Motorsports Unlimited. But when he was racing in the early 70s, he had someone come with him and film some of his races. So I got this footage of Champaign, Northville Downs, Santa Fe Speedway, Converse, Indiana, some great racetracks that I got to race at. So I'm going to share these films with you. I'm adding a little sound to make them come alive. And I'm going to tell a story about racing in the 70s, how you had to prove that you had 2 years of amateur racing before you could get a professional license. And there was plenty of professional races back then. So that's why I consider this the golden era. I mean, the racers nowadays don't even have a prayer of how lucky we were. We were so lucky, so fortunate in the 1970s to have all this great racing. And even my good old friend Gary Nixon, the late great Gary Nixon, who was two-time national champ, he thought the late 60s was more of a golden era because in one August, he raced 32 races in August, meaning one day he raced 2 professional races. So let's look at some of this film. Let's see some of the racing. I'm going to try to tell the story about racing at that era, and I hope these films bring it all alive so you can understand just what I'm talking about and how lucky we were to be able to race in the 1970s and be involved with motorcycle flat track racing. And don't forget my email, teamdan45@gmail.com.
Santa Fe Speedway had 3 tracks that the motorcyclists could race on. We're looking at the short track, or the quarter-mile track. We ran every Wednesday night a professional motorcycle race. And when I said you could run 15 to 20 races per month, you could run close to 5 to 7 races just at Santa Fe Speedway. We were very lucky to have this racetrack in Chicagoland. It created thousands of motorcycle racing fans and hundreds of motorcycle racers. I found out about Santa Fe Speedway in 1970. So this is the short track that we would use every Wednesday night, except 3 times a year, we would run the long track. These were called the classics. There was a George Mack Classic, a Pat McHenry Classic, named after 2 of the former track champions, and the Patriot Classic that would take place around the 4th of July, along with a fireworks display. During my era, we ran 250 motorcycles, and then they moved it up to 360. The biggest number of motorcycles were 2-strokes, but there were a few 4-strokes also that raced. One thing at Santa Fe, you had to qualify. This was professional racing, so to be a qualifying session to qualify for the program. The fastest 32 would make the A program, and the next 48 would make the B program. And then 4 to 6 times a year, they would run the TT. This is the TT track with a jump, a kidney-shaped track with left and right-hand turns. On Friday nights was the special events at Santa Fe Speedway. They would have sprint cars, they would have demolition derbies, and they would have TT racing. In 1973, they ran 6 TT races. And this was really my favorite form of racing at Santa Fe Speedway. In fact, my first year as a novice, on June 2nd, 1972, I won my heat race, and I took 6th in the final and made $6. But in order to race professional at Santa Fe Speedway, you had to prove that you had 2 years experience running amateur racing. Lucky for us, I lived in Chicago, but anybody in the Midwest, there was Sycamore Speedway just west of St. Charles on North Avenue, Route 64, and they ran a weekly program. They ran either Friday nights, every Friday night, then one year they ran every Saturday night. But this was amateur racing, many different classes from 100 cc's up to open class. And this is where you would learn how to race motorcycles, flat track motorcycle racing. So Sycamore Speedway was the closest track to Chicago. We are now looking at Millburg Speedway, which is right outside of Benton Harbor, Michigan. Here's a short track race, and there's young Eddie Scarlata up front, and chasing him down is Garth Brow, two famous flat track racers from that era. Millburg Speedway ran short track races on Saturday night and TT races or scrambles on Sunday afternoons. Another great place to learn how to race motorcycles, and many great motorcycle racers came through this system racing at Millburg Speedway, and now working at Niles Raceway. Niles is off of US 12, just west of, check that, just east of Lake Michigan, and they ran maybe every other week, and Millburg ran every other week. But you could run every week to learn how to race motorcycles. Now the films that I have just received that got converted are Bill Wildt's films. Bill Wildt, the late great producer of Motorsports Unlimited, my friend, took some films before he got into Motorsports Unlimited TV show. So we are looking at a race from Farmer City. This would be a fairgrounds in Illinois, Farmer City, Illinois. This event could have taken place along with the fair. This is a night race, could be a Friday night or a Saturday night. It looks like Bill is running in 4th place in this race at this point. I don't know who shot the films for him, but they did a great job of keeping the camera nice and steady. I have added sound, and I have resized the film, but as you can see, Bill Wildt taking 2nd place in that race at Farmer City. Now we're at the Champaign County Fairgrounds. They would run a race on a Thursday night or Thursday night, because they wouldn't run up against Santa Fe along with their fair. It's a half-mile event. Bill Wildt is a junior here. You start out as a novice, you're running small bikes. You have to earn 40 points to move up to junior, and then you can run the 750 motorcycles. It looks like Bill Wildt is racing his Triumph here. And this is either 1973 or 1974. Once you made junior, then you had to earn 80 points to become an expert. The novices at an average half mile got 10% of the purse. The juniors got 20% of the purse. And the experts got 70% of the purse. And most of the races during my era were $1,200 purse races. So we can see Bill Wildt, number 43, running approximately in 4th place. This could be the final. This could be one of the junior heat races. We are now watching the expert final at Champaign County Fair. This race was put on by the Central Illinois Motorcycle Club. The club that's been together now 70 years. That was the great attraction, racing at the fairs. Thousands of people came out to the races. And now we're at Converse, Indiana, another fairground, a Sunday afternoon event. Bill's got 3 of his bikes here, number 43P. We see John Phillips. John Phillips made his expert points at this event. That's what the note on the film says. We see the late, great Jimmy Collins, another good friend of mine. There's Bill Wildt. Now, Bill Wildt's a few years older than me and was into racing many, many years before me, racing cars when he was only 17. And now we're looking at the half-mile race at Converse, which was a nice cushioned racetrack. I enjoyed racing here. It looks like Bill is running in approximately 5th place. I don't know if he's riding his Harley or his Triumph. He did have 2 750s. And this is when he bought his Harley Davidson 750, XR 750 for $2,700. $2,700. But this is a beautiful half-mile track, Converse, Indiana, at the fairgrounds. This was one of my favorite racetracks. I know over the years I did make a good number of points at this track. But this was motorcycle racing in the 1970s. You could literally go to 2 or 3 races on the weekend. You could run Santa Fe Speedway on Wednesday night and Friday night if they had a TT. But these films to me are priceless, and that's why I was happy I found It's a nice story in Frankfort, Illinois, to convert these films from Bill Wildt over to DVD. And next we're going to take a trip to Northville Downs, just west of Detroit, for a very important race. You see Bill's got his Harley Davidson and his Triumph. He's cutting the rear tire because Northville Downs is a cushion track, and now he is qualifying. What do I mean by qualifying? All the juniors and all the experts had to qualify. There was only 24 spots open for the experts, 24 spots open for the juniors. All the novices got the race, and they would run heat races to qualify. But you had to set a certain time, the fastest 24 juniors and the fastest 24 experts made the show. And they would run 2 heats of 12, and you would move up, and you came in the top 6, you made it to the final. I did attend this race in 1973. I was only still a novice, but I bought my Triumph. I was racing Badger. I wanted to see what it was like to run a nice cushion track. So I had yellow number plates, and I only ran practice, but I came all the way up here just for the opportunity to run practice on a beautiful cushion track. And the AMA did not catch me running practice. Now we're getting a heat race for Bill Wildt. Looks like he's running about 7th place, 6th place in this race. And this is also where I found out about team racing. Team Michigan taking on Team USA. I went back and talked to Howard Team at Santa Fe Speedway, and then we started team racing in 1977. But it was the great reaction from the crowd to the team race at this event that inspired me to approach Howard T, the owner of Santa Fe. And now we're seeing Chuck Beusch, another friend of mine, and this is his film as he heads down to White City. White City was another club event. This is their club grounds, and they built a half-mile track. White City is located right off of Interstate 57, approximately 200 some miles south of Chicago, as we see the riders qualifying. Again, the fastest 24 juniors and the fastest 24 experts made the show. You see Chuck Beusch, number 13, out there qualifying for the program. And then when they line them up, they line up the fastest rider gets the pole position. So that's where qualifying qualifies you for the show, and it also qualifies your starting position for your heat race. And then how you finish in the heat race is how you line up for the finals. We see Chuck Beusch, number 13, getting ready for the second expert heat race. Chuck also had a great friend to shoot this footage. As you can see, the footage came out great. And I should remind everybody, you only had 5 minutes of film in the camera. So you had to make sure you took good shots. Not like video nowadays when you can continuously shoot. It was only 5 minutes of film in the camera, and then you had to change the film. This was the golden age of motorcycle racing, as far as I'm concerned. I was very lucky, as we see Chuck Beusch running a solid race. And now we're seeing a little bit of the final. For the experts, well, we can't make out any of the numbers. And next we're going to jump back to 1962, and we're going to see a race at Elkhorn, Wisconsin, at the Fairgrounds, Wadsworth County Fairgrounds, and we're going to meet former track champion in novice class, Curt Krause, number 60, as he wins this novice heat race. And let's listen to this great song.
I grabbed a handful of throttle and I was off and rolling down the lane. I looked back at the mark that was leaving that satch of mine. I was out to make a real good showing. I had a beautiful broadside going, and everyone around me was screaming, "Turn her on." So first gear, second gear, third gear, fourth gear, turn her on. I was halfway down the track and gee, that satch was running fine. And I kind of smiled as I listened to that engine whine. Every now and then you see one steal the show, and you'll hear everyone screaming, "Turn her on, turn her on, turn her on."
Thank you, Curt, for that great song, as we head south on Wolf Road to 91st Street to see the remains of Santa Fe Speedway. This is right after the track closed. Curt Krause is going to tell us about his experience at Santa Fe Speedway, show us some footage of a TT race, and play another song that I never heard before.
Santa Fe Park here in its last years was strictly for cars. No more motorcycle nationals. About the last year was about 1988 that they had a short track national here. But in the years before that, there was always the Grand National Short Track Race. 1962 was the first year I was out here, and I seen Carol Westweber, Darrell Doval, Ronnie Rawl, George Roeder out here. It was fantastic. It really made you want to be here every Wednesday night to watch. Now it's closing. This is the end of it. Through these gates we used to pass every Wednesday night to watch short track racing. It became a tradition for everyone who rode a motorcycle to come here. The area. This is where we used to pit back here with all the cars, the vans. Maybe you'd get like 40 to 60 entries sometime for a short track race. And a half-mile race, you'd probably get a few more. And the payback there back in those days, if you won everything on a short track, you could probably win about $700 a night. Freddie Nix, he was known to come out here just to pick up his paycheck on a regular basis. This is a lot of history at this racetrack. A lot of history. Quite a time back then. Quite a time. Now we'll show you the tape of what we have on there. We got a few shots of 1965, 66. Hope you enjoy it. Thank you.
I've got me a Triumph 650cc with high bars and risers decked out as can be. I'm gonna win a trophy at the rally, you'll see, with my Triumph 650cc. My TR's a goer, fast as they say. I'll shut down everyone that gets in my way. I'm gonna win a trophy at the rally, you see, with my Triumph 650cc. The starter dropped the flag. I've got the fastest bike around. I'm sure to win the drag. Now the race is over. I knew I would win. It's hard to beat the world's fastest twin. I've won the trophy, the Triumph CC, with my Triumph 650cc. With my Triumph 650cc. With my Triumph 650cc.
Thank you, Curt, for your comments, for the film footage, and the two great songs that I never heard before. The second film was from the Chuck Beusch collection, and it showed a practice session. The novices, the juniors, and the experts would practice separately. And now we're looking at Bill Wildt's footage. It looks like Bill Wildt in the white leathers at the TT at Santa Fe Speedway. We are showing you three different views of this TT track. It was one of my favorite tracks ever. And I could tell I was at this event because if you look in the pits, you will see my red, white, and blue van. And parked right next to me, it looks like Al Bloom's El Camino. So as we see some more of the TT footage at Santa Fe Speedway will always be missed. Those of us that got to race there, we were definitely blessed. It was a great time. And now we're going to look at some of Bill Wildt's footage of the short track, and this was it. Short track racing. Looks like Bill's in 6th place, but all the top riders in the country made it to Santa Fe Speedway. Everybody and anybody you've ever heard of racing motorcycles in the 70s into the 80s, starting in the 50s, raced at Santa Fe Speedway. It was a great day. It was a great time. And I was blessed to be part of this group of great riders, great racers, and great fans. And a special thanks to Nice Story Productions in Frankfort, Illinois. To contact them, it's nicestoryproductions@gmail.com. They converted the Bill Wildt film to a great DVD that I could then use that footage. And thanks to Chuck Beusch and Curt Krause for the additional film footage to make this show look so great. Extra music for this production by Engine, Mike Breed's Intrigue and Travesty, and all this music recorded at Fireside Studios, Westchester, Illinois. This did not include those 2 special songs. To contact me, and I love to hear from my audience, it's teamdan45@gmail.com. Remember, you can always search on YouTube with Dan Schmitt Motorcycle Racing for great motorcycle racing action, Dan Schmitt Politics to learn what makes America great. And I highly encourage you to visit the World of Motorcycle Museum. They're in Winamac, Indiana, 4 miles south of North Judson. They're right on Indiana Highway 39. Give them a call first at 574-896-3172. It is a great trip and a great collection of motorcycles.